Again, I want to touch on that a little bit because I think that's an excellent point. If it happens with somebody that you know and it's within your group, your circle, that affects everybody. Now you're worried about, oh my gosh, I'm gonna say that this person did this to me. How is that gonna affect my friendship with my other people? How are they gonna look at me differently? Are they gonna look at him differently? What is that gonna do to this my social circle? Right. So now you're even more so, do I call this act out or do I just keep it to myself? And if you decide to do the keeping it to yourself, you hide it, you're shameful about it, that interaction every day, staying in that circle with that person that did that to you, I, it's got to be just unbelievably pressure filled to try to maintain a circle, knowing that this happened and you're terrified to say it, right? And you don't want to disrupt any of the other people. That's got to be one of the most difficult things to have to put yourself through. I can only imagine, because it is inevitably going to disrupt that group, that environment, right? It has to. There's no other way. People will start to take sides. People will say, and it's one of the things that I think leads to not wanting to come forward and say that it happened, right?
Yeah, 100%. And actually, in the short film that I wrote, Shame, the whole my character is sexually assaulted the night before, and we don't, we allude to it a lot. We don't necessarily show that full aspect of it. But that morning after that, she's walking back to her friend and speaking to Deidre's character. Um, it's a mutual friend, and it's
Hmm.
not just any mutual friend. It's the one that Deidre's character is in love with.
Mm.
So it's this extra layer of, oh my God, he's in our circle, but he's in our inner circle. And there's this dynamic with my best friend. And how can I tell her that the guy that she's been crushing over for so long is a rapist? Right.
Yeah.
And because it just happens, um, that's it triggers her all over again, because the idea is that they were ready to go to an event that morning, which was the Renaissance Fair as part of their tradition. And he apparently texts Deidre's character to say that he's coming. And when my character finds that out, it just triggers her all over again, because it just happened the night before, ultimately leading her to take her own life. So that's kind of the story in a nutshell. But it plays on all of that. It plays on the walk of shame that makes women feel like they did something wrong, even if they wanted to consensually have sex with someone. They have every right to want to have sex with somebody,
Mm.
right? But it makes them feel like they did something. Oh, but they get the walk of shame. But then you've got the guys walking in the hallway getting high fives,
Right.
right? So it's this double standard of, okay, she's a slut now, So it's playing on that walk of shame concept. And in this case, the assault was, the sex was not consensual. It was an actual assault. So it plays on the shame that you have when that happens.
Mhm.
And then also the shame that you have now trying to explain to your friend, and that awkward dynamic. So, and the cultural aspect, right, of this happening, like, especially, it's suicide, sexual assault is stigmatized everywhere. It's a universal problem. But I will say that as an Asian, in Asian culture, I think it's even worse. Like, we really don't talk about it. And women are definitely um not necessarily seen at the same level. And they're taught, all these, it's like you're assaulted, and the first question that your parents might ask you is like, or why did you go out that night? I told you not to go out that night. You know what I mean? And it's like they start attacking you. And so it's also that a helplessness, which, again, compounds that shame. And then in this course of a few hours, that's all it takes for her to decide to try to, take her own life.